Well, David, we move right on to our next guest. I am so excited to introduce the founder of SF Jazz, Randall Kline. Randall, welcome to the Great Pause.
Great to be here, Jennifer. Thank you for having me.
Randall, start off a little bit with the history of jazz in San Francisco. How much of a jazz town is the Bay Area? Or I said how much of a jazz town is the Bay Area, but really let's focus right on San Francisco. Talk to me about the history here.
Well, San Francisco jazz really started in the gold rush. Barbary Coast was the site of lots of houses of ill repute and bars, and along with that, there was some jazz sprinkled in there. So from the very beginning of when jazz was being established in the early 1900s, it was an integral part of San Francisco. The person who claimed to have invented jazz, Jelly Roll Morton, actually lived here in the early 1900s, lived on Market Street. And there's a long history of great jazz clubs and great musicians that have come out of San Francisco. So SF Jazz is really just an evolution, an extension of a history here.
Oh my gosh. So what does a pandemic like this do to this community?
Well, it's devastating to this community and all communities in the world of the arts and music and jazz in particular. People make their livings there and they fulfill their life goals through their vocations. And in this case, it's being a musician. So, we generally put on close to 500 shows a year at the SF Jazz Center. We've got another multiple hundreds of education events that we do along with that. And with those 500 shows, there's hundreds of musicians that come through the center from all around the world, from here in the Bay Area, of course, but throughout the country and other parts. So there's no work, basically, is what it's doing for people, and it's difficult.
Yeah, two of our closest family friends are full-time jazz musicians here in the Bay Area. I live on the other side of the bridge. I live in West Oakland, which is also quite a rich historical history and place for jazz in this area. I haven't yet made it to the SF Jazz Center in Hayes Valley. So tell me a little bit more about that. I'm so anxious to go. Tell me what I should expect to see when doors do open back up.
So the center was built and we opened in January of 2013. SF Jazz as an organization has been here in the Bay Area since 1983. We started as a small community organization that featured only Bay Area artists, and we grew and grew and grew. Eventually, our kind of flagship product at that time was, developed into was the San Francisco Jazz Festival. For its excellence and presenting artists from, again, all over the world. And then the organization, we're a nonprofit presenter, much like set up very similarly to, say, the San Francisco Symphony or San Francisco Opera. And over the course of our evolution as an organization, we decided it would be, we wanted to look into the idea of what it would mean to have our own building. We presented over the 30 years prior to opening the SF Jazz Center in probably 25 different venues around the Bay Area, mostly in San Francisco, but also in Oakland. Paramount Theater actually is still a venue we use occasionally as well, too. So the center opened, and the intent was to create the best jazz experience that could be possible in the world. It's the product of a $66 million capital campaign to build this place. We are so fortunate to have such incredible support in the Bay Area to help something like this happen. A building like this devoted to just but the Bay Area place that it can happen, and it's going extremely well. This was to be our 9th season coming up in September in the building, coming close to the 10th anniversary of the project. The history is it's become an important part of the cultural life of San Francisco. Our season opens in September alongside our now neighbors, the symphony and the opera, and much anticipated buzz around this one here. We really in a short amount of time in the building, although over the course of the 30 plus years, we become a real integral part of the fabric of the cultural life of San Francisco. So
Yeah.
the center, physically in the same neighborhood as those great institutions. And we are now, trying to react to this crisis and continue to do what we can to stay open and healthy so that when we do come back, we'll be better than ever.
I know you don't have a crystal ball, a magic crystal ball, but do you have any sense of when we might be able to walk through those doors again?
Well, in some form or another, optimistically, we're hoping for something. Just recently, there was a first test case actually in Arkansas of a rock concert that took place. And there's a lot to be learned, but basically the industry is really figuring it out. It's going to be, social distancing in the hall and lots of health precautions as we gradually move into it. But, I'm optimistically shooting for something in September. When we would have opened our season, we were scheduled to open the Thursday after Labor Day weekend. And if there's some way to do it, we will. We've got, we're in the middle of an experiment right now, a program. We're broadcasting a show every week, every Friday. It's called Fridays at 5. And it may be a hybrid of what those concerts are, but live. So they look like live concerts, actually. So I can launch a little bit into what Fridays at 5 is. But
I was just going to ask you about how you're staying connected to your audience. I mentioned that we have two very close family friends who are full-time jazz musicians. They're giving lessons over video chat, like similar to how we're chatting now. They are also giving concerts. So let's dive into Fridays at 5. I know you have a really exciting musician this week. And then is this going to go on weekly until doors open again?
Yes, and probably after we reopen the building as well, too. So when we built the building in 2013, we set it up with full-on broadcast capabilities, camera systems, and we've been recording most of the concerts that have taken place there. And one of the things that SF Jazz has a reputation for is sort of excellence in programming and programs that only happen at the SF Jazz Center. And so we've gone back through the archives here and sort of taken sort of a best of what we've presented over the last few years and, kind of edited those concerts slightly down to about 1 hour. And it is a way to sort of get into a different kind of rhythm right now of that Friday at 5 o'clock, end of the work week, when we were all in that normal-ish kind of rhythm, and time to relax a little bit and watch a great performance. What's a little different about this performance is you'll see the performance is shot in a particular style that we've designed to feel a little more present and live. In fact, actually, the first few broadcasts when we did, this is the 7th week of the program coming up this week, we had a lot of people on the chat box, which is part of the program, asking, why are all those people there? Well, how did you get permission to do that? And so it really gives the sense that you're there. So basically, these are concerts that we charge, to become a member of SF Jazz at $5 a month, basically to watch these programs that are broadcast every Friday at 5 o'clock. And then there is a tip jar attached to that as well, too, to your question about what we can do also for musicians. In that tip jar, you euphemistically called, people can contribute what they like, and that money goes between us and the performer. We split 50-50. And it's a way to help musicians who aren't working get through this particular time. And so the tip jars have been great. Last week we sent, we're going to send off, with checks in the range of anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 every week from the broadcast, from the tip jar to artists, which is fantastic. It helps us, our staff, keep working. Our technical crew is helping in all these broadcasts, doing sound and what you're doing right here on your show. So.
Randall, you're reading my mind. You're getting to my next question. Thank you so much. I just have really one, maybe two quick questions for you. I want to know a little bit about that Art Tatum photograph behind you there.
So this is it's a great story. So not a great story. It's a great photograph. The photographer's name is Herman Leonard, probably the greatest documenter of jazz. from New Orleans. And when we opened the building, actually, there's a tie. I've owned this photo for a long, long time. We did something years ago where I had access to purchase this print, and I love it. My father was a piano player. I love piano. I love Art Tatum. It's very, and it's a poignant, deep photo of him not playing the piano, but contemplative. When we opened the building, we're right across the street from an abandoned San Francisco Unified School District school, Commerce High School, that's been shuttered for close to 50 years. And it's not the most attractive building. The windows, a lot of them are broken or in disrepair as well, too. And as you saw from the photo earlier of the SFJazz Center, it's all windows and it's all about looking in and looking out. We really wanted to place ourselves in the neighborhood of Hayes Valley, where you could see what was in this building. This was the part of the architecture we chose and beautifully executed by the architect Mark Cavagnero, who also lives in the Bay Area. But this idea to be able to look in and see what's in the building. Well, when you can look in and see what's happening in the building, into the lobby spaces and even into the two performance spaces there, you can also look out from the lobbies. And a lot of the view was onto this building that was not looking so great. So we approached the San Francisco School District and asked if we could install these jazz portraits in the windows. And I believe I think there's 21 windows that are there. And we approached Herman Leonard's estate if we could use some of his portraits. This particular photo behind me here actually was one of the portraits in those windows. And since then, we've had three separate, it's become actually an interesting exhibition space for the neighborhood. So we've had three different photographers rotate through there now, and one was a San Francisco photographer, Jim Marshall. We were just about to change out to another photographer. So every year or twice a year, we unveil a new exhibition across the street. So when people are in the building or you're driving by in Hayes Valley, you see this beautiful display of historic jazz figures that help set a context for what we do in this very contemporary building and looking forward for jazz. So sorry for the long-winded explanation of Art Tatum, but
we're also huge Jim Marshall fans, so I love that. And it's also another way that you're really supporting the arts in San Francisco. We can't thank you enough for that. Last question, how are you, Randall Kline, getting through these unprecedented times?
Well, it's like I think just how everyone else is. You've been dealt a card. We've all been dealt a card, and life doesn't stop. So we keep moving. My wife is active, busy. Full-time job. She's able to do that from home as well too. I'm able to do that. The kind of common refrain from everybody is how many Zoom calls they've been on in a day, and that's sort of been our life. I mean, SF Jazz is a real institution, and we've got to keep rolling. And so the day-to-day, not only of how we keep things going moving day to day, but also trying to anticipate. Back to your earlier question, what's your most, when do you see returning? We've got to play out all these scenarios right now. We've got to run, try to figure out what we're going to look like when we open, what we're going to look like while we're closed, how we do all these things. So how Randall Kline personally is doing, I'm very involved in the future of SF Jazz and trying to figure out the ways we can actually turn this crisis into an opportunity for this organization so that we do come back as a better organization and more connected to our community. And Fridays at 5 has really been a beautiful thing for us to be connected somewhat with the community, and we're going to start looking at expanding those digital offerings. There really is no replacement for being live, and I guess personally, to your question, I really miss being there myself. I mean, it's nothing gives me greater joy than to sit in that auditorium, gorgeously intimate, beautiful auditorium, acoustically perfect place to hear music for someone who's a jazz fan. So it's torturous not to be there. So I'm really looking forward to being back there and, missing. I mean, I guess I'm really missing what live music can bring to my life, but, it's also missing the joy of being able to spread that around a little bit like we do at the center.
Well, you'll have a whole lot more people joining you this Friday for Fridays at 5. I know I'll be there. I know David will be there. Everyone here from Beyond Picks and the Great Pause. So thank you so much for everything you're doing for our community, for jazz in our community. And just stay healthy, stay well, and we hope to talk with you again very soon.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.